We always set our ovens to 375 because we do so much. You're going to be opening and closing. 50 degrees, you're just lost. But if you have it at 375, it keeps your oven hot enough so it doesn't mess up anybody's food. Now, I turn the switch to the desired temperature, and there's two rings of temperature. The inside ring is Fahrenheit. The outside is Celsius. Pay attention to the inside ring, okay? Because if you go on the outside, it's going to be way too hot. That's just the oven manufacturer, okay? So make sure you see the inside ring. You got to get real close. Put it in between 350 and 400, okay? That's where we start. Actually, before I start, Chef Michelle, this is Michelle, everybody. She's going to be with us on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She's been through this. She's here to help, okay? She'll be here to help me, to help all of us get our product together. Show her kindness. I have the utmost respect for her. Very organized. She's really good. And she's here to just help. But she says, then it goes. Okay, I trust her completely. So sometimes she'll be with us all evening, but usually she'll be able to answer any questions that if I'm not present, then I trust her to set you in the right direction. Okay? Thank you. Okay. So butter. At some point you want to get butter for you and your table. Okay. Butter's a variable, just like salt. Okay. Parmesan cheese. These are roughly 4-ounce cups. So I would get one full for you and partner. I'm gonna use maybe half of this at the most. Okay. White wine you have, chicken stock. At some point you're gonna need some fresh thyme, a dry bay leaf. Okay. Now here's my ratios. 8 ounces of long grain, and then of course that's gonna be 2 cups of chicken stock. Now these pictures are for liquid measurements. Don't put this into the rice and expect it to be the same. 1 cup in this picture is not the same as 1 cup in the dry measuring cup. Okay, so we have all of those small wares in the very back on the Metro wrap. Okay, so that's what you're gonna need. Now I'm gonna start the pilaf first. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil in the pan. How much? Just enough to coat the bottom so that my onions don't burn. I'd rather use more butter than oil. It's going to be greasy otherwise. Keep the temperature low and slow. I gave everybody onions except myself. Can I get some onions from there, Chef? You have the chef? Yes. Beautiful. So look, this is what I'm going to use for all for both my rice dishes. About 2 ounces of onions for both of them. Thank you so much. Now this plastic sleeve, when you get it in your knife kit, pull it off and throw it away because it's wet. Any bacteria is going to start to multiply in there. Okay, and I've seen more cuts than I want to remember of people trying to take that sticky, like nail stuck on plastic off of the knife. Okay, so be careful. You can get rid of that. Onions, we're gonna do a fine julienne. And then of course that will brunoise. I'm going to start the pilaf first, then you'll do with your partner. Cut the onions small, like the rice, the same size as the rice. This will take a minute. Now, my pan is hot enough, I think. and my onions can go in.
Is that half of it?
Huh?
Half of it?
No. 3 slivers of onion cut. Look at that. It's about a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of onion, right? For the special effect, right? Okay. We're not looking for color on this. You just want to get them slightly translucent. As soon as that onion goes in, if your oil is hot, your rice goes in.
Okay.
Butter goes in.
Rice.
A tablespoon, right? Or 2. Because I like a lot of fat. I'm coating the rice in that fat. Okay? Put that on the stove. Your chicken stock goes in. It's that simple.
Wow.
Now, mira, all of this fat here, it should get absorbed by the rice. Okay? But normally, if you were making a sauce, you would take it off. But I like a lot of fat. Chicken stock goes in, crank up the heat. This has to boil on the stove. Vigorous bubbles, okay? Really, really big bubbles. By that point, the butter should have melted. Now salt goes in. Okay? Half tablespoon of salt. Don't be cheap on the salt.
Okay.
Now, you season when the liquid goes in, and then the rice will pick up that flavor. You can taste it, right? If the broth tastes good, the rice will taste good. If you forget to put salt, can't put it in at the end. It's just going to fall through those grains of rice, right? And it's going to be crunchy salt. My oven's preset. You have lids right here, y'all. Okay, on the side of your station. Find one that fits. Find one that fits, and then let that water simmer. Let that stock simmer. Okay. I'm gonna go in and stir it 2 or 3 times once the liquid is in, as it's coming up to a boil, because it will start to stick. Okay. If the liquid isn't boiling here, when it goes in the oven, it's never gonna come up to a boil. You're gonna take it out, and it's gonna be undercooked. Okay, so get this really, really hot. When it's boiling, your lid goes on. It's gonna go into the oven for 19 minutes. 1 sprig of fresh thyme, 1 to 2 bay leaves. Go in. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to boil. Now, right before it goes into the oven, I give it 1 more stir because it tends to stick. This is the long grain rice. Look at that short. Look at that short fat one. Don't get them twisted. Yep. So this one is that one right there. We try to change the cups so that you don't get them mixed up. Okay. So it's starting to stick, but nothing that you can't just loosen up from the bottom. Okay. Oh, one thing, y'all. You're gonna do 1 full cup of rice, 2 full cups of liquid. Your recipe says half a cup, but keep an eye on the pot. If you use this pot, even 1 cup is going to be spread out so thin it's going to burn. Okay, so you want to have a proper pot so that that 1 cup is going to be nice and high, and you don't risk it burning in that 20 minutes. So almost at a boil, not quite. Okay, so let that go. In the meantime, I'll start to heat up my pan for the next dish, which is risotto. Starting to see some bubbles break the surface? Not yet. Okay, vigorous bubbles. That's very important. And then we'll stir it 1 last time before it goes into the oven. When it's boiling, you put the lid on. 19 minutes in the oven. Okay, 19 minutes.
Can I see how it looks? So I want bigger bubbles than that.
Massive bubbles in the middle.
Bigger than those. That right there. Okay.
Yep.
It's bubbling, but he said he want bigger bubbles than that. I was like,
There we go. Now
how
you're
that
ready.
goes.
Chef, you put a timer in?
Can you do it for me? Okay, now I have vigorous bubbles. One more stir.
And you're putting it in the oven like that?
Lid goes on. In the oven.
Alright.
19 minutes. With me so far?
Yes.
19 minutes, 30 seconds later, we're gonna pull it out of the oven. And the tendency is to want to peek in there. Please don't. Okay?
Let it do its job.
You're gonna pull it out of the oven, and then you're gonna set it to the side. And you have to leave it covered for at least 10 minutes. But realistically, you can leave it for 30, and it's still gonna be hot. Okay? What's happening now is that rice is starting to flutter and boil in there and starting to cook. What happens when you take it out is all the steam and moisture that's been trapped in there, the rice will continue to absorb, and it'll set. And it'll finish cooking outside of the pan, outside of the oven, right? If you open it up, you just lost all that steam you captured, and your rice is going to be undercooked, okay? But realistically, 30 minutes later, it's still hot, okay? And then we'll check it at that. If you're going to walk away, put a towel on the handle. That's universal for it's hot. In French kitchens, you'll see flour added on the handle. That tells somebody, careful, it's hot, right? So it's very, very important. Okay, so that is pilaf. Next, risotto. Thin coating of fat on the bottom. Really thin. Okay, get your pan hot, which I think it could be a little bit hotter. We're not looking for color on this either. So the onions are going to go in quite fast. And then Parmesan cheese later. Butter later. White wine is going to go in soon. Okay? You see that oil start to thin? Now your onions go in. And the rice goes in. Now I'm just coating it in the fat. Now, if you feel like you need a little bit more fat, you can add some. I do a little bit. But I'm going to walk around so that you can see
How it looks.
the pearly stage.
Yeah.
You should see the rice translucent, and you should start to see like a couple dots in the middle
Yeah.
of uncooked white rice. Okay? So that tells us that it's ready for liquid. And the first increment of liquid is white wine. Okay? A little bit more fat, just so that rice doesn't burn. Okay? The more you coat it in fat and cook it in that oil, the more pearls you'll see. But as soon as you see pearls, you're ready to go with white wine. Now that wine is going to reduce down and your pan is going to be dry. The entire time that you're cooking this dish, you should have a clean pan. You shouldn't have sticking on the edges of your pan of rice or onions, because all of that is going to burn on the edges, and then it's going to go into your rice and make it bitter. Okay? Now, we reduce it till it's almost dry. That needs to cook a little bit longer. But I'm going to constantly stir. Okay, so now we're dry. And you should always be able to run your spoon on there and see nothing sticking, right? Nothing burning. Now the first stock application goes in. If you have hot liquid, you don't have to, you're not wasting time. Hot rice, hot liquid. If you add cold liquid, now you have to wait for that to heat up, and then you're wasting time. So now the stirring begins. And now the heat needs to be controlled here. again, my version of high, medium, low is different than yours. So you just have to pay attention to that. 18 minutes is what this should take to cook, okay? And as we're stirring that, you're gonna start to see the liquid become milky, sort of cloudy, right? You'll see the rice actually go from white, this bright white, to faded, sort of beige looking, a little off-white. Okay, so pay attention to that. But also, start to pay attention to those short grains. As they start to absorb more liquid, they're gonna start to swell up and plump up, get fat, right? That's what we're looking for. Now, this is the level of fluidity that you should always have. And the stirring immediately starts to release that starch, and that's going to give you almost its own sauce. I constantly look at the edges, making sure nothing's sticking. When I've had to make this in restaurants, okay, the liquid has come back down to the level of the rice, right? It's starting to look like it's drying up. That's when you add more liquid, okay? You could have it on very high heat, and the liquid is going to reduce too fast. The rice isn't going to cook in 18 minutes, okay? You're going to have to keep adding liquid because you're cooking it too fast, too high heat, okay? So you don't want to be here all day. Keep it consistent, okay? Keep adjusting that. And then you stir. You stir. After the third addition of stock has been absorbed, then I'm going to start to taste it. But I'm paying attention to the rice, whether it's swelling up, increasing in volume, or not. Now, this one is individual, okay? The Parmesan that we have has some salt, so when you do go to season, be careful. We're not using pepper. Pepper is going to make it look dirty, right? If the French were using, or Italians are cooking white dishes, they use white pepper. Okay, but I tend to hide it in the kitchen. It's very strong. It sort of smells like barnyard to me or something. It's very, very strong. That's my preference. Now, this is going to be the fastest risotto you've seen, but you want to take your time with it. That's all we're doing. 2 rice dishes, and one of them you're making with a partner.
Which one is the risotto?
This one's the risotto.
I know that's what we're making with partner.
This one you're making individually. Okay, so look. You should have something that trickles when you raise it, right? Individual little grains of rice that are plump, right? You should be able to build a mound, and then everything just kind of cascades. If it's any tighter than this, by the time that you serve it, it's too tight. Add more liquid. Okay. Now, if we were working in a restaurant and you were serving this, you can par cook it. Okay. You par cook it, and then when somebody orders it, then you pick it up, then you finish it, okay? To cut the cooking time, for sure. Now some chefs will add all of the liquid at once, but I find that it doesn't let you control making sure that each grain is giving you that starch, which is its own sauce. Okay. Now, if you par cook it, that's one thing that you can do. You lay it out on a sheet tray, and then when somebody orders it, then you pick it up in 7 minutes, right? Versus 18 minutes. Some very hardcore Italian restaurants, they don't make it until you order it, right? You can overcook it and make an Italian dish called arancini, where you take this rice and you completely overcook it, lay it on a sheet tray, and then cool it down. And then because of all that starch, it sticks together. You make a little meatball, a little rice meatball, You stuff it with mozzarella, you bread it, you deep fry it. You break into this soft rice, this oozy mozzarella cheese, serve it with marinara sauce. It's called iron cheese. You can stuff it with duck. I've done it stuffed with like braised duck or some sort of meat, you know, but it's very simple. It's an appetizer, right? Now, this is another spoon, okay? Constantly moving. I recommend that you use a spatula, a plastic non-stick spatula, or a wooden spoon, okay? That's where now a wooden spoon is gonna come in handy. The metal spoon tends to be too harsh on it, and it breaks up the rice, okay? It breaks up the grains. Now, how much time on the pilaf, chef?
8 minutes, 40 seconds.
8 minutes, fantastic. So that means that I'm halfway done, okay? Now I can add salt. Because it's only gonna cook for a little bit longer, right? And now I have to adjust the consistency. I'll show you what that consistency is. Now, I still have stock. I started with 3 cups of stock, because I still have a lot. That's gonna be my backup stock. I'm gonna hit it one more time with stock, and then after the cheese and butter gets added, it's gonna tighten up. That's the stock that I have remaining to give it a splash at the end before I serve it to you. Okay? Now, look at this consistency. The whole time you wanna have that. My pan is clean. You can run your spoon down the middle, and then it all kind of cascades back in. If I run my spoon down the middle, it's like parting the seas, and it doesn't come back and fill it in that gap. It's too tight, too dry, so you add more liquid. But again, washing this is going to be a breeze, okay? Because nothing should be stuck. Now, if you see any brown around the edges, maybe your heat's too high on the back end, be careful, because it tends to make it bitter. But I'm halfway done. I can take it to the condiment stage. Butter goes in. Okay? Cheese goes in. Now, if you're using exceptional cheese, you can go really hard on that cheese. Don't for this one. Okay? Just balance. Right? You've got too much cheese, then it's going to it becomes like stringy, and that's not pretty. Okay? So now I know I keep stopping and I'm going back. So it's gonna increase the cooking time for mine. But when you add your butter and your cheese, it's not gonna have the same fluidity. You see how it's now falling like oatmeal, right? That's the cheese and the butter thickening it, right? I still have that clean, right, streak, but it tightened up quite a bit. One more splash of stock. Eric is gonna tell me when I'm close on my rice. One more application of stock. And then we'll finish. But now you can start to taste. And now you can obviously see that it's increased significantly in volume. Look at that, nice and creamy. Some people actually do add heavy cream at the end. Look at that. Look at how now we have flow. Not watery, but we do have some flow. By the time that this sits, it's gonna tighten up. It's gonna thicken up. We want to anticipate that that's gonna happen, and then make it a little bit more loose than you think is necessary. So now I can taste, and now I can start to check for doneness. This is when you're gonna bite into it, and if you have 1 to 2 bites, right? I got two uncooked pieces of rice. 1 to 2 bites, right? I'm shooting for 3, right? I'm shooting for 3. But I've already added my cheese, my butter. I know that if this thickens up to me for me too much, one more hit of stock isn't gonna overcook it. right? There's a balance. If you've never had risotto, you might think it's undercooked, okay? Wolf likes his risotto incredibly al dente, right? Daddy Wolfgang, and he wouldn't let us fire it until right before, and we're just like dying because it's something that you have to make and serve. And so right before like guests arrive, you're just kind of at the edge of your seat, and then he says, "Fire risotto," and then you get it to the right consistency, and then you serve it. Otherwise, it's porridge. It's oatmeal. It's not pretty. Okay. Now, I think that's good to go, right? One to two bites. Still a little bit too much bite. I'm still chewing, right? It's not 1 to 2 bites of uncooked rice. It's about 7. Let it keep cooking. But again, because I haven't overcooked it, I can continue to adjust that consistency. I can continue to add liquid and then cook it longer. And I know that it's not going to be overcooked. How long on that rice, Chef?
Yeah, like 3 minutes.
3 minutes. 3 minutes. That's about what my risotto needs, right? Didn't I say 19 minutes from start to finish? Stopping. That's about right. Okay? So 18 minutes. I recommend that you start the pilaf first when you go to your station, because that's going to take 30. Right? Once your pilaf is in the oven, all you have to do is manage the risotto on the stove top. Timer goes off, you pull out your rice. That's one dish. Now you're just finishing this one. Right? That's how you should work. Now today, 30 recipes of risotto. Last week was last week. Can we say that it's fair that this week we're starting fresh? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes. So I'm not going to go back to last week. But
What about that?
1 grain of rice in there, 1 grain of rice times 30, right? You can imagine it becomes like half a cup of rice that clogs up, and it's never just 1 grain of rice. So today, just manage any rice that goes on the stove top, take care of that. And then now I think I'm good to go. Right? I think I'm good to go. Nice, creamy. And then I do make my rice like that. You used to tell me a little bit more al dente, right? But we have fluid, still creamy, right? You see all those grains of rice swell up. Now this would be done. Okay. Now, if you've never had risotto, we have these beautiful Baskin-Robbins spoons, right, for tasting. You should taste the piece, and if it's not your cup, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. But how would you know what I'm assessing you on if you haven't tasted, right? Taste. Questions, comments?